Hi, this is Shuit with a review of the Converse All-Star Pro BB. Converse has been a great company in terms of basketball history, tradition, cushioning, traction, support, whatever you may ask. Personally, my first basketball shoe was a Converse Run and Slam, sponsored by Kevin Johnson. They were great shoes. The Converse had a lot of interesting gimmicky cushioning that they were experimenting with. Back then in the 90s, it was called the React Juice. It was really good. But other than that, even if they were to remove that cushioning concept altogether and just have their ordinary midsoles, their midsoles were top tier. I don't know what they did with it, what kind of blend of EVA or foam they used, but they were soft to the touch and they remained that way, way ahead of their time. Even better than the Reacts or the Cushlons or Lunalons you get from Nike these days. So I don't know why Converse can't bring that back. Converse experimented a lot, from React Juice to the helium chamber to the struts, the marble-like ball substances that really protruded and stood out. And Dwayne Wade won a championship in those in mid 2000s, so that proves how great it was. But then after that, because of Dwayne's excellence and his amazing performance, Nike, which ultimately took over, acquired Converse, decided to make Wade wear Jordans. So Converse was simply ditched to another corner and left to rot, unfortunately. But this All-Star Pro BB looks like they're trying to give it a little second wind. Um, I was pretty excited to learn about it, but in Korea, they were only released recently. They were released earlier this year in the United States and most other parts of the world. I love the design. It's very sleek. It pays homage to the original All-Star Chuck Persons, Chuck Taylors, that is. Um, and yet they updated it and modernized it nicely. This little Chuck Taylor logo is supposed to be, in the old days, this was used to provide some type of anti-inversion firmness on the inside, because you wouldn't expect the logo to be on the outside of the shoe, right? The lateral part. But I was also always wondering, why was it on the medial side? Well, that was because it served the function to make the medial side firm on the ankle, so that it provides some degree of support. So nice little homage there. This Converse One Star logo is actually a little bit of a TPU, or a plastic rubbery compound that's coated here, so it provides a little bit more of a lockdown. And overall, the upper is made of a uh, knitted mesh type of material, so it's very flexible and breathable. It feels similar to the Kobe 360s in some sense, but there's a fused coating here on top of your foot, and the toe box has another additional coating to make sure a certain level of durability is provided, and stability is provided there. So that's great, but it's really low. The toe box isn't high at all, so for people like me, average Joes, that's okay. But if you have a uniquely thick, high-rised feet, then you might want to avoid this. The size comes a little bit short, not exactly narrow, but not exactly wide. So I personally had to go up half a size. Could it go up a whole size even? I don't think they come in half a size in Korea. So, yeah. Uh, so that's something you should take into consideration before purchasing this shoe. The outsole it's great. It pays homage to the traditional Converse Chuck Taylors with this milk carton or milk crate pattern. Surprisingly, I actually bought in the traditional Chuck Taylors. For instance, this all-star version with this mesh upper, which is very breathable and relatively lightweight. I would put like removable midsoles or insoles in them and play ball with them, and the traction is still amazing. Created in the 1950s and still up to this date in 2019, even exceeds the performance of modern basketball shoes. So they paid a nice little homage to it, but it turns from the milk crate pattern to a diamond grid pattern. So that's great, but the traction it's great in the first go. But as you can tell, it's all kind of uniform in terms of the groove depth and the protrusion of the patterns. So that's a no-no in my book, unfortunately. This midfoot, they could have had a little bit more of an arch and a little bit more of a protrusion and a little bit of a different depth and design on different parts, but they're more or less uniform, so they will uniformly pick up dust and uniformly slip together. So you need to wipe them if you don't want to slip, and play on a cleaner court. Extremely dusty courts, it won't give you the kind of tractions that the Crazy Quicks would provide. These are the kind of tractions that you need to be able to roam and reign anywhere in any dusty court. Definitely better than the goddamn Harden 3s or the Adidas basketball models with a lazy copy and paste carbon herringbone pattern that doesn't work at all. So yeah, this is not bad, but they could have done better. But the traction, it's not bad. It's decent. The weight is something that should have been a super plus for this, since they use these lightweight, mashy type of materials. But the upper itself, a size 9, weighs about 238 grams. As for the Kobe 360s, even at size 9.5, they weigh about 215 grams. So yeah, that's a bit of a failure on this part. Overall, with the drop-in Lunarlon midsole, it weighs about 330 grams. The drop-in midsole itself is slightly lighter than the ones used in the Kobe 360s. But the difference is the Kobe 360s has these anti-inversion contraptions, these little firm TP or plastic bits to provide a little bit more rigidity and firmness to prevent your very wobbly shoe from completely, hurting you, because this is really spineless. So there is that part of providing a bit of a spine there. It has none of that. As for the cushioning, it feels more or less the same. This is all React. They try to use a bit of a Lunarlon and React, but really you can't really feel the need for the different density of the shoe. I guess to some people maybe, but for me, I guess they were trying to provide a little bit more firmness and stability around the foot, but it wasn't exactly necessary. As for this, the plus side is the 360s, they had no coating on it. It was just the React and the Lunarlons, and your feet just came into direct contact with it. And because these aren't fabrics, these don't absorb moisture, your sock would be soaking up moisture and you would just feel wet and slippery. So if your feet isn't completely contained and locked down, you will feel a little bit of a slippage in there. So any insole or shoes that doesn't have this type of a fabric coating is a no-no. So Kobe's, they did this for the Kobe 11s and the Kobe 360 NXT, but they ditched this this little coating that makes a world of difference for the 360s and also for the latest fast fit. But yeah, this is the plus side. The React itself, it doesn't have the kind of heel to toe drop that I would like to see, that I feel is very important in the basketball shoe. The React compresses, and because it's the same density and more or less the same thickness, your forefoot is going to be a little bit more elevated than the heel. The heel, where your whole weight will always be focused on, it's going to be sinking a little bit lower than your forefoot. So you will have your feet forming, looking a little bit like this. So you're not training in jump soles to improve your vertical ability all the time, right? So this is not exactly good for your Achilles heel or your ankles to have your heels sinking in a little bit more than your forefoot. So they should have done something more about that, but they didn't focus on that. So that's quite a shame. I noticed that in the Kobe FF, although they didn't put this fabric there, which is a shame, they did try to put some additional coating on the heels, I suppose, to provide some elevation and the difference in the heel to toe drop. So I would love to see how different it feels in the Kobe FF. But anyway, this is the All-Star Pro BB by Converse, and they did not improve on that flaw in the design from the Kobe 360s. All in all, it feels a lot like the Kobe 360s. If you love the 360s, I would advise you to get them. They're relatively affordable. What I really love about it is that even though it hugs around the ankles, it doesn't feel suffocating at all, because they did a nice little job of splitting the scratchy mesh fabricy material and added a neoprene material here, so that there's a little bit more room to put your feet in and pull your feet out, and also to provide a lot more comfort and support without abrasion and or chafing to your Achilles. So that's good. The heel cup is there, so there's a firm heel cup that does its job, and right around the ankles they have a nice little internal paddings to provide that additional support and lockdown. So that is good. And the React cushioning and the outsole works in tandem together to make sure you have a nice little transition and you don't feel a little double tap, thud. Yeah, that's what I hate most in flawed basketball shoe. So this has a nice little transition with the React midsole and this particularly designed outsole, which is rounded at the heel to provide that nice little heel to toe transition and ride. My only beef with it is I wish they came with a low, and I wish they had a bigger outrigger and a different groove pattern that's a little bit more varied and different, deeper grooves, more protruding patterns and whatnot, and a little bit more of a decoupled midsole, and for the React midsole to have a greater heel to toe drop. The React itself, one thing I would like to warn you is that if you try the Kobe 360s or any React foam shoes, you would notice that durability is not their strength. Personally, I tried wearing the Kobe 360s with the React midsole for about a good 6 months, and then I actually felt a little bit of a difference. The cushioning wasn't as great as how it felt fresh out of the box. So I checked it and compared it with my another pair, which was stocked up inside the box. So I took one fresh out of the box and compared it. It's a difference you can feel. So the bottom out factor is pretty big for React drop-in midsole. So I seriously doubt this will have a different level of durability compared to the Kobe 360s because of how they feel the moment you step in and set your foot in them. So one advice I would like to give you: when you try it, if you feel that the cushioning is too much, get it, because that level of comfort will die down, so you will reach the level that you prefer. If you feel that you wish it was a little bit plusher, or if it feels like it's just right, forget it. That cushioning is going to dissipate and bottom out a little bit more, so you're not going to have the type of cushioning that you thought you've had.